So up here, so we have three little houses, that one, and this one. Those are the ones where you guys will be staying. Those are double, each house has 2 rooms. Each room has capacity for 2 up to 3 people. Each one has a private bathroom. And I mean, they're comfortable beds and there's nice views around it. That's the best I can give you at the moment. Actually, from the first one, you can see the lake on both sides. It's quite nice. So this is the houses for the vet program. This is the main volunteer house. This is a 2-story house with bunk beds. This is where all of our regular volunteers and our interns stay. This roof up here, that's the kitchen and dining area. So the distance between here and here maybe 120 meters, 150 meters. Then most of the facilities are actually covered by trees. We are in a secondary forest. So the clinic is here. Office is somewhere around here. And then I'm gonna move a little bit outwards and you can see the outline of some of our enclosures. So this gap here is our monkey rehab enclosure. There's a smaller gap here. You can barely see it, but our parrot enclosure is here. We have a couple of smaller enclosures on this side, and then there's a lot of very little enclosures all throughout this area. This, by little, I mean 12 meters by 6 meters, so 48 feet by 18. So they're not small, but they're scattered around here so that we are still protected by nature, so that the animals don't have to be over worried about being overcrowded by people. The way to enter this area by car is a single road. So when you guys come in by plane, either myself or a junior veterinarian, Johanna, one of us will be, actually both of us, because we're gonna need 2 cars. We're gonna come and pick you up from the airport, and then we're gonna drive this way, and then we're gonna drive back inside. It feels like we don't know where we're going because this is a major highway, and then it goes into a small road, and then the tarmac ends and it's a gravel road, and then the tarmac comes back up, and then it disappears again, and then we get to ARCAS. That's going to take us about 20-25 minutes, and it's again, it's a very safe area. Everything that's here is a zoo, 2 hotels, and us. No, it's quite safe. Everyone knows everyone, so it's a small community. I think that's with location, at least, of what we do, where you guys are going to be. There's a lot of small things to do around. This is the island of Flores. So there's a lot of boats that come in and out. Most of our volunteers, and pretty much if you guys want to go out and eat something or you want to go and buy something, you go by boat. So the boats know exactly where we are. And if you look at our lagoon, they even have a little trail into our lagoon. So they'll come in here, they'll pick you by the office, and then they'll take you out. Flores is a tourist hub. It has a lot of places with foods, internet access, hotels, restaurants, anything to have a small snack or anything like that. And then out here, this is our major supermarket in the area. The boats dock directly in front of the supermarket. You can go in, buy whatever you need. There's an ATM in that one as well. And there are one ATM now in the island. So you can either go to this one or you can go to that one. And then whatever you need to have done, finish it relatively quick. And then it's another 10-minute boat drive back to the center. Everything happens close. So there's not a lot of things that can go amiss with the things that we have. Flores is a tourist hub because this area basically lives due to archaeological tourism. So in your itinerary, you guys have an overnight stay in Tikal. Tikal is just up here. So if I bring back places and labels, Tikal is here. So when you go on the weekends that you guys are here, the way that works is that from the center, you need to, obviously I'll help you. And then we arrange a boat to take you out into Flores. In Flores, you guys will get a minibus That minibus will drive the main road up here and into Tikal. It will drop you directly inside the hotel, inside the national park. Your guide will be waiting. You guys go and do the archaeological tour, which takes anywhere between 3 to 6 hours, depending on how many questions you guys have, how interested everything is, and how quickly you walk. After that, all the 4 meals are included while you're at the hotel. So lunch, dinner, breakfast, and lunch the following day. Then the following day, your bus will wait for you and then bring you back out into Flores. You can either call the taxi boat driver or myself, and we'll arrange for the boat to take you back to the center so you can have dinner there and we can carry on learning on Monday. With Tikal, there's a lot of options. Obviously, when you guys are here, we'll talk about it. But we had a group from Ross University, I think about a month and a half ago. And what they did is that they really liked Tikal. So they purchased extra packages. They purchased a sunset and a sunrise tour. So they went into Tikal multiple times, walking in and out with guides, so they could see the sun setting on top of the temples and then the sun rising on top of the temple the following day. There's also like a canopy tour that's just outside of the main archaeological area. You guys can obviously do that, but that's entirely on you. So what we include is the first archaeological tour, the 4 meals. The one thing that we cannot include is the entrance fee to the park. So there's an entrance fee that's paid somewhere around here, which is the physical entrance to the park. The entrance fee is 150 quetzales, which rounds to be $22 US, and that has to be paid in cash at the entrance. That we have, the way that Guatemala works with archaeological sites and national parks is that they're state funded. So our taxes pay for part of the entry of all Guatemalans. So Guatemalans have a different price than non-Guatemalans. That's why it has to be there. So you need to bring your ID so they know that you're either Guatemalan or non-Guatemalan, and then they give you the price for wherever you're from. So Guatemalans pay significantly less, but it's because it's state run. We pay by taxes, so we have like a prepaid partial entrance to all of our national parks. So going back to where we're going to be, we're going to be here, so at the rescue center. And our daily routine will be, you guys wake up in your houses, you walk down to the clinic, and inside the clinic, we will have a book that arranges everyone into different activities. Everyone will be assigned some work with animal husbandry, and some people will be assigned to the clinic duty. The idea is that we rotate everyone every couple of days so that everyone learns how to do something with some species. Obviously, when there's something big going on in the clinic, everyone comes into the clinic and works with me and my intern, and we work together with dealing with whatever's going on with the animals. But as a general rule, everyone does a little bit of husbandry. The reason behind doing husbandry is because you guys need to learn what normal looks like, so that in a couple of years, when you are practicing and then someone sends you, because someone's going to send you a photo of parrot shit, and they're going to say, is this normal? And you will have seen multiple cases here. So you can say, oh yeah, that's actually what it looks like. Or you can say, oh no, that's not what it looks like. But until you have seen it, you don't know what's normal. So that's the reason why I always put vet students, pre-vets, vet techs, and everyone in cages, so that you guys can know what normal looks like. Once you know what normal looks like, we can start discussing. So when we have the lectures on parrots or monkeys or on small carnivores or whatever lecture we're having, I can say, okay, who's in cage number something? Oh, me. Okay, how does it look? Is there anything abnormal? Is there anything normal? And you guys can actually start giving me feedback of what you see from a clinical aspect on the enclosures. There's a lot to be learned, both for you and for me, because the regular volunteers that we have don't have the same eyes that you guys have, and that's what I'm counting on. I'm counting on you to be able to find things. Currently, ARCAS has 516 animals. So having only 2 veterinarians and 1 intern, it's not enough. We need more eyes. So we need people that we can actually trust, and the ideas that we can go back to you and feedback to us, so that animals have better care in the 2 weeks that you guys are with us. Any questions up to now? But I know that there's new questions and new things that obviously come up with time, and I've been asked multiple times by students on why do we do this? How is this going to work? How is this going to be moved forward? So the idea of having people in husbandry and in the clinic is so that everyone can rotate and everyone can teach everyone. We do rely a lot on people teaching other people. So what we're going to be doing is that Anna, our volunteer manager, oversees that rotation. And what she usually does is puts 2 or 3 people inside the clinic with me in the first day. The following day, 2 of those stay, 1 moves away. And then the third day, 1 of the original ones still there, and there's 2 new ones, but the one before already knows. So you're frog leaping each other, so they can each other, and we can follow up with treatments. That's the idea, so that the first person that had left, say on the first day of changeover, will be coming back into the clinic at the end. Everyone will have the same amount of days in the clinic, so that you have a little bit more one-on-one time with me. That doesn't change the amount of time that we're going to be having as the main lectures. So the main lectures we're going to be doing from your house. You went to the clinic, we've done husbandry, we've done all the clinical things early in the morning. Then we go to the kitchen. In the kitchen, we'll have breakfast around 8. From that, there's a little building that you can't see on this side, which is our lecture hall or library or projection screen, whatever you want to call it. And in this area, we're going to be stuck for the next 2 or 3 hours. You guys are going to be either with me or with me and Dr. Martinez. And when Fernando talks, he talks in Spanish. He doesn't speak English. So he will give the presentations in Spanish, and I'll be translating as we go. It sounds awful, but it's not. We've done it multiple times, and we've got a good rhythm. And the ones that are with me obviously flow a little bit faster. But if you guys want to practice your Spanish and you want to kind of try to ask your questions in Spanish, you're more than welcome to do it. Fernando's been here for 25 years, so he understands half words and pointing at things. We do our lecture, depending on the lecture, depending on how many questions and how interested you guys are. Those lectures can extend from anywhere from our standard 2 hours to, I've actually had to split them into 2 days. So it depends a lot on what we get. So I think it was a year, it was pre-pandemic. We were talking about anesthesia of carnivores. And it started dwelling into, oh, but I work at a clinic and this happened with a raccoon. And then someone chipped in with, oh, but I worked at a zoo and this happened with a tiger. And then someone else, and then someone else. And that feeds back into the group. And you'll realize that you guys as a group will have a lot of experience. Even if it's a short one, even if it's one case, even if it's anything like that, that may have left a seed of questions in your head, that is something that we can talk. We will talk about One Health, which is a very big topic at the moment. We want to talk about zoonosis, we're again big topic at the moment. We want to be talking about guaranteed primates, parrots, and reptiles. What we have come up with is that we do a lecture one day, and the following day we do the practical. So say Tuesday, we talk about parrots. On Wednesday, we are going to go and work with parrots so that everything that we've taught you is fresh. Then say Thursday, we talk about reptiles. And then on Friday, we're going to go and capture turtles or crocodiles or snakes or whatever we have at the moment. I can't always guarantee what individuals we're going to be working with, but I can guarantee what kind of species we're going to be working with. All right, so that's our morning. depending on the time, depending on the amount of animal. For example, 3-4 years ago, we had a lot of baby pygmy owls come in. Pygmy owls are the size of a computer mouse. That's as big as they are. That's adult size. They weigh about 60 to 69 grams, and they all had to be fed every 4 hours. And we had 13 of those owls. And it was at the same time that we had a vet student group here. So all of our lectures were cut in half because we had to be doing lecture. Owls need to eat. Everyone goes back down. We feed all the owls. We come back up. Oh, they're hungry again. Let's go and eat, and let's bring it back. So it will depend a lot on what we're doing. January, we don't have a lot of juvenile intakes, but we do usually have a lot of injury intakes. Again, it's not I can't promise anything because of the nature of our work, but it's something that most likely will happen. So we have that, and then we have lunch again here. You guys can go down, you can go to the bathroom, you can do whatever you need to do. After we go to husbandry, we finish clinical treatments. If our talk is still unfinished, we go back to the library. If we need to prep anything for the following day for the practical, we prep everything in the clinic. And then we usually finish our day around 3:30 to 4. Dinner will be served at the kitchen at 6. And it will depend on you what you guys want to do with those 2 hours, when and if we have those 2 hours. Which brings me to we have our educational area is down here. We do have 140 animals down here. Those are all of our non-releasable animals. Our visitors, so ARCAS is partially open to visitors. Our visitors come by boat, and they come into this dock that's here, and they come into this structure that you can barely see on this area. This is like a museum, like situation. You'll see it when you're here. What we're trying to do is educate the public. So if at some point you guys want to go down there and just look at animals and try to see if there's you can find anything else, we have another veterinarian down here, and you can go and talk to her as well and have other points of view for non-releasable animals, as opposed to the releasable animals that we work with on the rescue side of ARCAS. And I think another question that I had on the list was the COVID testing facility. So the COVID testing facility is in town. I'm gonna go a little bit out. So ARCAS is still here. And the COVID testing facility is somewhere here. So you go by boat, and then you get a tuk-tuk, one of those little red cars that come out, little motorcycle car that looks like a tricycle, and they're very cheap, and it can hold 3 people inside at a time. So you can flag down 3, you get 3 per person, 3 into each one. They will drive out this way, they'll come out this way, turn here, go into one of these streets, and they'll show you into the door of the lab. The lab does the swab, and they will email you your results with a QR code, and they usually send it in English, so that you have no issues in any airports or any kind of changes of that. They can do PCR, they can do antigen. We actually have a very good relationship with them, and we're going to have an even stronger relationship next year, because next year we're going to do a big study on zoonotic diseases. And I'm going to include malaria, dengue, chikungunya, Zika, and all of the general arboviral and vector-borne diseases. And that lab is going to run everything. So we actually have a very, very good working relationship. We had a case of one student that turned out to have a positive test. And I knew that it was impossible because she hadn't left ARCAS for 2 weeks, and there was no positive cases at the center. So I called the lab and I said, "Are you 100% sure that this is real?" And then he said, I gave him all the story. I said, "You know what? I'm going to run a second PCR for free. I'm going to calibrate the machines, and I'm just going to make sure that nothing happened." He recalibrated everything, and there was that one test was the 0.2% of the PCRs that gave a false positive, because he run it 3 times, 2 for free, 1 for real, and the 2 second ones were negative. So if at any given point we get a scare like that, we can talk to the lab and the lab will most likely redo anything just to be on the safe side. It's very unlikely. Again, if you look at the map, aside from us, there's basically nothing 3 kilometers around us. So we are in a very, very safe area, and there's only one road. So we know who's in, we know who's out. All of our personnel, all of our staff has been vaccinated. We have had 3 cases in our staff, me and Fernando, so both veterinarians actually had COVID last year. It was not fun. And then one of our staff from a different cluster about a month after we had recovered. So everyone's aware, everyone is still wearing masks. We're still having gel disinfection things everywhere. We do have a few rules. I'm going to send out the newest version of our rules through email so it can be shared to you. And it's basic general security. So if you guys go into town, you go to a supermarket, come back, take a shower. So we're not asking anyone to go on and give a blood sample every time you go into town, but you go out, you change your clothes, you wash, and make sure that you're not potentially contaminant to anyone. Guatemala has finally broken through our biggest moment of COVID. So we are past our high numbers. We had like a traffic light system, and 3 months ago, the entire country was red. So we had a lot of cases. We were seeing, I mean, for us, we're big numbers, obviously not compared to what happened in the United States last year. But for us, it was very serious numbers. We were seeing anywhere between 5,000 to 6,000 people a day. For the amount of people that live in the country, it's actually a lot. And right now we're down to maybe 1,400. So the effects of vaccinations are actually being felt now. So I'm expecting by January to have significantly less.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so as far as packing goes, I was trying to decide how many clothes to bring. Can I do laundry there?
You can do laundry with us, yes. We have a washing machine and we don't have a dryer. So if you bring anything to be washed, make sure that's something that's relatively quick dry. And maybe a little bit of paracord so they can hang it in front of your room. We don't have a lot of spaces that get sun throughout the entire day, but the times that they get sun is quite hot. So everything dries in a couple of hours. Our washing machine does have a cost. It's 25 quetzales, which is $3 per load. We provide the detergent, and you can go down, you put it on, it finishes its cycle, you bring it back up, you hang it, and you're done.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions?
You don't need to bring too much clothes, so don't overpack. Don't bring. Please don't bring your entire wardrobe. That's not going to be useful. Think of what you'll be doing. So you'll be in animal husbandry, and then you'll be doing clinical duties. I usually ask everyone to bring at least 3 scrub tops. I don't need you guys to be with scrub pants. I need scrub tops. I don't, because scrub pants end up getting very dirty very quickly. So I don't think that's not necessarily good. In January, it's going to be slightly cold. I mean, not Iowa cold, but cold for us. It's going to be, I'll say, as low as 12 Celsius, 12, 13 Celsius, which is, let me use a calculator here. I don't know in washing machine degrees. Give me a second. You guys use very weird numbers. So about 55 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, that's what Google said.
Yeah, so about 55, 60, that's going to be what you'll be looking at on the coldest days. The warmest, most common temperature at that time of the year, it's going to be about 22, so it's about 70, 72 Fahrenheit. So aim for something like that. Don't bring in anything that needs to deal with snow. Don't bring anything that's going to make you too cold. What you can do One thing I do ask is when you pack your scrub tubs, please don't bring anything that's fluorescent, nothing that's too striking in color, because it does freak out the animals. We work with rubber boots inside all the enclosures when we do animal husbandry. We do have rubber boots here, but they have been worn before. If you have no problems with that, you can use the ones that we have here. If you have issues with wearing something else that someone else wore, even though they're disinfected, they're washed with chlorine and they're clean. But if you're icky about it, I understand it. I'm that way as well. And I'll bring your own. If you're going to use the ones that are here and your foot is bigger than an 11, bring your own. No one in this country is that size.
And you said rubber boots, kind of like a muck boot or a mud, something that's water resistant, right?
Yeah, water resistant, and that can be easily washed. What the British will be calling wellies. What you're going to be sinking in cow shit for the next couple of years.
Ah.
That.
Can you talk a little bit about phone service and data on site?
Oh, yes. Okay, so phone service, it works. So if you have roaming, it works at the center. It's a clear view to the antennas. We do have an internet service on site. We do have a small fee for it because we get charged by, what is it? I think it's by gigabyte at the moment. So we do have a small charge. We charge 50 quetzales per stay of the person, which would be not even $10, about $8, a bit less, $7 per person for you 2 weeks. It is relatively unlimited. It's not too fast, so I wouldn't recommend it to take a test. Like if it's a video test, I wouldn't recommend that you use it. But if it's something written, if you're downloading something for class, if you're uploading something for class, it's good enough. It's basically what I'm using at the moment. It's the same company that provides it in my house that provides it at the center. So it hiccups a little, but it works.
Questions?
But roaming has worked. I think a lot of people just pay an international plan, and for 15 days, it works.
Do we need to bring like our laptops for the lectures? What should we do for like taking notes during that?
It's entirely up to you. You can either, I've had people bring a laptop, I've had people bring an iPad, I've had people bring a notebook. Please remind me when you guys, before you guys go, if one of you brings a flash drive, I can give you copies of all the lectures anyway. I personally, most of my lectures don't have a lot of things written. I don't like writing a lot on the screen. I like to talk a lot. And most of what we're going to be sharing is going to be the real clinical elements. So I don't need you guys to memorize, I don't know, all the boring anatomical features of a raccoon. I'm going to teach you how to really deal with that raccoon. For you guys to memorize things, you're going to school. You're going to come here so that you know how the real world actually works. And that's what I'm going to try to teach you in 2 weeks.
Any other questions?
So someone off screen got excited and then
Yeah.
make sure that you guys leave some space for souvenirs when you go back. Guatemala does make some of the best coffee on the planet and also some of the best rum. I'm not telling you to drink, but I'm saying it's good.
I do have a question about the water quality. Are there going to be like water
Yes.
bottles like available?
Okay, so we collect rainwater and we put it through 3 filters. So we filter it through solids and we do a double activated charcoal filters, and that's what everyone does. It is purified. We haven't had a single problem with people having any issues through our water filtering system.
Thank you.
Can you talk about
The
the,
question, actually, sorry, that brings me back. I'm gonna say it when you guys are here anyway, but do not drink the water from the tap. So there are purified filters in the kitchen. Please don't drink it from the tap unless you want to test your immune system. If you want to test it, it's your deal, but it's pumped from the lake. So yeah, I wouldn't, even though it's relatively clean, is the cleanest lake in the country. I wouldn't recommend that you drink it.
Can you talk a little bit about the meals offered on the program?
Okay, yeah, so we have our meals. It's a very tricky question because this week we're redoing our menu. So it can be either amazing or I'm still gonna be angry. I'm not sure what's gonna happen. The base of Guatemalan cuisine is going to be corn and beans. Second to that, eggs and rice. After that, we're gonna have a lot of mixes. So we're gonna have what we implemented into a menu right now. It's different types of ways of cooking vegetables, ways of cooking chicken, ways of cooking pasta, and burritos and things like that.
Is there any vaccination that you would recommend these students take?
I would recommend for help you with traveling, COVID, and we don't have strict vaccination requirements, but I do recommend that you guys have rabies, tuberculosis, and tetanus. I think that as a general rule, most vet schools ask those three anyway. So if you have those three, I'm happy with it. I would recommend that you talk to your doctors as well and your insurances to make sure that anything is actually covered. Talk to your insurances as a general rule of thumb before you travel, just to make sure how things work for them. It's very, very unlikely that something's going to happen, but I'd rather you guys be at ease than to have a surprise when you're here. Having said that, we have not had a single case of an animal with rabies in the past, well, ever since ARCAS began. So for 30 years, we haven't had rabies. We had tuberculosis in 2 monkeys in 2013. We screened for tuberculosis, all of our monkeys. So tuberculosis is, again, very, very unlikely. What else is zoonotic that's important? Malaria, we've had some monkeys with malaria, but that's normal for them. We have not had a single human have malaria. We've had a couple of humans have dengue, but you can't vaccinate against dengue. So when you guys are here, it's going to be cold for us, so there's no mosquitoes, which is a plus. So yeah, I would recommend that. Mainly talk to your doctors, talk to your insurances, make sure that you get that. Rabies, tuberculosis, tetanus, and COVID.
For malaria, is there like, are we supposed to get the pills for that or how?
Do you know anything about the malaria? Is
Yes,
it a pill?
so a lot of people and a lot of, that's why I'm asking you guys to talk to your insurances, because okay, we're gonna have that discussion about malaria when you guys are here. I'm gonna explain malaria to you. But as a very small summary, malaria can't be necessarily killed. It can be controlled. If you get the parasite, it's with you until you die. What we do is control it. Those pills, depends on what pills you're on. You need to start a month before and end a month after you travel. Other pills are just while you're away. Other pills are while you're away and then 6 months after. Some of the pills they're just old regimes. I don't take malaria pills. No one that works here takes malaria pills. But if you are the one person out of a million that gets it and your insurance says, oh, you didn't take your pills, you have a problem. That's why I'd rather have you guys ask, just to be on the safe side. A lot of the volunteers that we get for long term, we had a volunteer from Australia. She was here for 3 years. For her first month, she was on malaria pills. After the second month, she said, no, I'm not going to do it. And then but it was her decision. It was her call. So that's on you. That's on you guys and your insurance companies. I don't want to be the one that says don't do it and then have a problem. I wouldn't do it, but that's me. Okay, yeah, definitely I can do that. So ARCAS has been here for 30 years. We're going to talk a lot about illegal wildlife trade while you guys are here, but as a general thing, illegal wildlife trade is the third largest illegal source of money on the planet. And by illegal wildlife trade, that includes both animals, plants, and the subproducts of both animals and plants. So when we think about illegal wildlife trade, a lot of people think about rhino horn, about elephant tusks, and people start forgetting about monkeys. They forget about fish, they forget about rosewood, they forget about a lot of things. Guatemala, being in that little corner of the world that we are, we hold about 5% of the world's biodiversity. So we're a very, very biodiverse country. That means that we are a source of these animals, of these plants, of these elements. We started protecting our stuff very late. So our law for protection of our environment and to stop illegal wildlife trade happened in 1989. It's relatively new. So it's 32 years old. And when that happened, government started seizing animals. And they started taking animals away from people, stopping illegal wildlife trade, stopping poachers, stopping all of that. And then they had these animals and they had nowhere to put them because they didn't think of the next step. So the ARCAS founders in 1989, early 90, said, all right, we've got the will, we've got some cash, we've got land, we're going to make this, and we're going to start a rescue center. Our founders had no background on animals or biology or anything. It was a bunch of lawyers, architects, dentists with good hearts, good wills, and they hired the right people, and ARCAS started to function. In a couple of years after that, there was a big boom throughout Central America of doing conservation and try to work through conservation. And the funds started to dwell a little. So we had to reorganize what ARCAS was. And instead of being a very large NGO that did conservation on national parks, on education, on outreach, on networking, we just brought it all back into the Wildlife Rescue Center. And we said we're going to be the Wildlife Rescue Center for reintroduction of animals. And that's what we've been for the past 25 years. For the past 25 years, ARCAS has received about 15, I'll say 16,000 animals of about 75 species. So we've been working with a lot of things that come in and go out. We've released quite a good number of animals. Not everyone gets released, obviously. Some animals are either pushed back to our education center because they can be reintroduced, or they end up being pushed back to zoos. According to our laws and our government, some animals die, some animals are euthanized. So it does depend a lot on the cases that we get. That's how animals progress. ARCAS has then reimagined ourselves, and we're seeing that we have now the art of wildlife rescue and rehabilitation, not down to a T, but close to it. We're very good at what we're doing at the moment. We have been recognized by Humane Society International as the Model Rescue Center for Latin America. There's a thing called GFAS, which is the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries. We were the first accredited entity by them outside of the United States, worldwide. Our biologist just won the Carl Noon Award, which is the highest ranking award that GFAS gives away. So we're there. And now we have pushed back into education, both with having outside education, like what you guys are doing. We're training people from across the world. We're trying to share what we know so that things can be done better throughout everywhere. People can have the experience, you can have the knowledge, you can have a little bit of the history of how wildlife conservation actually works. And we have an education center for people to come and visit so that we can share the stories of illegal wildlife trade so that people understand that having one parrot, it's not about having one parrot, it's about what that one parrot signifies to both the environment, the ecosystem, and the work that it requires for those animals to go back out and be released. And so that's where ARCAS is at the moment, up here in the north of Guatemala. We have another 2 sites, Guatemala City Office, which is mainly administration. They receive a little bit of animals and then they relocate them to us. And we have a sea turtle hatchery all the way down in the South Pacific of Guatemala, where we have recovered, I think we already crossed the 600,000 line of sea turtle eggs. And eventually we'll get to 1 million eggs, but the idea is that we work with very highly endangered species, so olive ridleys, leatherbacks, hawksbills, and the idea is that we can reintroduce all the babies that have been born in captivity on the same day. Again, one of the main philosophies of what ARCAS does is that we work for the animals. We don't work necessarily around the animals, but for them. So if an animal needs something, we give that something. We're a very unique situation. I'm going to explain all of this when you guys are here. We're going to have a good talk. It's actually my first talk about what wildlife medicine actually is, because there's a very big difference between zoo medicine and what we do. We may work with exact same species, but it's not the same work. So all of that we're going to talk about. I want you guys to have that side of the story as well, because a lot of the wildlife conservation like us, we're very quiet because we're somewhere lost in the world and we don't have the personnel. If any of you has worked at obviously a high traffic clinic or a zoo or a wildlife rescue center, you can try to picture this. Currently, we have 517 animals, and our total staff is 14. So we don't have the people, we don't have the numbers to deal with this. So if any emergencies happen, anything like that happens, that's how we roll. That's how ARCAS has grown. My current intern actually used the best way to describe wildlife conservation that I have heard in a very long time. He said, the first thing that he said after being here for 15 days, I think, he said, this is a lot like cattle ranching. I looked at him and said, what? you got dropped on your head when you were a kid. And then he says, no, this it's not that it's like cows, is that it's a way of life. It's not a job. It's a way of life. And it actually defines what we do and defines what you guys are going to be part of. And that's why I want to be able to share. So you'll be jumping into a boat that has been rowing for the past 30 years so that you know how that works. And you can go back and you can replicate as much of this as you can.